Let me go get you the world, baby. I'll be right back. Get your diamonds in the...
Hello there, welcome to So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweets, and I am sitting here with an amazing guest today, and this is
Trina.
okay. And so we're gonna just sit and just do a little chitty chat. Y'all know how I like to do. And she is a businesswoman, and she's a boss, really. To put it plainly, she's a boss. So we're gonna talk about her journey and what it is to be you and do you. So you are a Mary Kay representative, and you do well in Mary Kay, and it's a very good product. Um, just share with the people, how'd you get into Mary Kay?
I got involved with Mary Kay. The seed was planted through my favorite aunt. We're like a year apart.
Okay.
And she started and she was really excited. And she said, Trina, you would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't a great time.
Okay.
And I was impressed. I went to an event, but that wasn't the time.
Okay.
Fast forward some years later, my best friend, who I actually met because she was my son's kindergarten teacher.
Oh, wow.
And she prayed for him.
Yes.
And that's how we made the connection. But
Okay.
out of the blue, she's like, I'm selling Mary Kay, and you be perfect. You need to come and be my model. And I was like, I felt sorry for her because she didn't have a model. And I went.
Okay.
And I went, and of course, they had all these happy Mary Kay people. And by the end of the meeting, girl, I was like, I'm happy too.
Yes. Right.
And so it was that was the right time, because at that time in my life, I was a stay-home mom, housewife who had went from the hood to the woods, living in the country with my kid's father, or my husband, my ex-husband, and it was great, the experience with my children, but being able to be available for them. And so Mary Kay seemed like it would be a great fit because I could be flexible and be there for my kids and do something fun and meet some new people.
How many years ago was that?
That was 19 years ago.
Oh, wow. So have you been doing Mary Kay the full 19 years?
The full time.
Oh, wow. That's
I
amazing.
have, yes. Thank you so much. I believe it was early, like my first couple years in the company, when I realized that God was using my Mary Kay business for me to be able to walk in my gift, which is evangelism, and to win souls. And that's like, I light up when I say it, because I know that that's what I'm called to do, and I know that's my gift. And so what God did was, I would meet women, and then they would open up to me and tell me their whole life. Yeah. And it would give me an opportunity to pray with them, win some of them to the Lord at their kitchen table sometimes. This is what I was born for. Yes. And so whether they bought anything at all or they bought everything, I was waiting for an opportunity to either be able to plant a seed about Jesus, water it, but I knew, and I know that God always gives the increase. So, yes.
So in doing that, like, how many years into it was it like the aha, like, oh my God, like, Lord, I see what you're doing? How many years into the Mary Kay had you been, in that season where you're knowing, I know in the pit of my Shondo, your Shondo's your spirit.
Yes. Yes.
How many years had you been doing the Mary Kay?
I think it was in the very beginning, because we talked earlier, and you had mentioned you were 8 years old. You were creative, and you were who you are today.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a little girl, my grandmother reminded me that I used to talk to people in the laundromat about Jesus.
Really?
When I was a little girl.
Oh,
when
my
I was
God.
about 8.
Wow.
And so I ain't new to this thing.
Yeah.
As they say, God put that in me a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it was probably in the very beginning where I was like, okay, God, this is a vehicle for me to be able to witness and win souls.
So how old were you when you gave your life to God? Because it sounded like you was right in your mama's womb and you was already cutting a jig.
Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I've been saved or
Okay.
acted saved all the
Okay.
time, but my parents, I were born to teenage parents. My
Okay.
mom was 15 and my dad was 16. And
Mm-hmm.
my dad struggled with an addiction,
Okay.
and my mom, they were both raised and they were in homes that were there was addiction there.
Okay.
And so when I was born, that's what I came up around.
Okay.
And so, but my mom, there was a situation where my mom, she almost died.
Oh my
And she
God.
said, Trina, when you were 5 years old, you and I went to the hospital and I had all these tubes in me, and you saw me, the ambulance take me away. And when you brought me back, when they brought me back, you said, Mom, I prayed for you.
Yes.
And she said, I don't know how you knew about praying because we
Yeah.
didn't teach you that. She said, but when you were 5 years old, your prayers saved me, and they're still saving me today.
So where did you even know to pray? How'd you
I
even?
don't know.
Wow, it was just in you.
Hmm.
So didn't hear it from your mom, of course. What about your grandmother? Was she saved?
That was now my mother's mother. No, I hope nobody in our family sees this.
Yeah.
But no, she was the original Medea.
Right, right.
And
I
she
have
was,
one too. I
yes, she
have one
was
too.
not that
Yes.
lady. But later, I was about 7 years old
Uh-huh.
when my brother and I ended up living with my grandfather, my father's father. And he
Okay.
was married to a lady who I call Mama today. She passed
Yeah.
away a few years ago, but I admired her so much. And
Yeah.
I honor her today because it was a lot of us in the home. It wasn't until I was grown. I was like, I think I was an orphan, but like, we were never treated like that. We were
Yeah.
raised in church. We were raised to
Yes.
answer your question in a roundabout way. We were raised in church and to know the Lord at a very young age. And that's where
Wow.
that seed was planted
Wow.
about church and about praying. We watched the sisters and the brothers come to our living room, and they would hold hands and they would close their eyes for a long time and talk to God. And I observed that
Yeah.
as a child, and I was like, that's how you talk to God.
Yes. Yes. But God was giving you the know-how even before you knew how. So even before you got to go live with Mama, God put that ability in you, put something in you to say, hey, whatever it is that you were saying to the Lord, to even for your mother. Isn't that so crazy? Like how he just chooses us.
Yes.
Even when we're not choosing him, we're not aware of him, we don't know what he's up there doing. He's still choosing, protecting, and loving on us.
Mm-hmm.
That is so amazing and so crazy. Now I know how to talk to him for sure
Mm-hmm.
because now you see it. There's
Yes.
actually someone here to teach you. That is so amazing. Like to be able to have a woman of God that you can admire. And I felt the love in you. Your heart warmed up when you talked about her, even the thought of her. And I
Yes.
felt it when you said it. It was like just excitement, joy,
Mm-hmm.
peace, honoring, reverence, love. That's an
Yes.
amazing thing to be able to have. And so, how long did you live with Mama?
I lived with her until I was 12.
Okay.
My mom came back and turned her life around and
Yes.
got my brother and I, and that's a story maybe for another
Oh, absolutely.
podcast.
Yeah.
But I continue to be a part of her family, and all of her family traditions
Oh, wow.
are my family traditions
Okay.
because that's who I was raised by, and
Yeah.
I'm more like her
Mm-hmm.
than anyone.
Yeah. So, do you still have ties with that family as well?
Yes, because
Okay.
that's really my only family
Yeah.
in a sense where that's all I know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so my biological family, I absolutely love
Of
them,
course.
but I was raised with my grandmother who was from New Orleans, and she was my best friend.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm more like her than anyone else.
So after being 12, did you still continue your relationship with God at 12? Or did you say, I kind of want to see another side?
So at 12, because some things happened to me as
Okay.
a child
Yeah.
that shouldn't have never happened to a child, I got the wrong message
Okay.
about what love was,
Okay.
that it was being promiscuous. And I believe at that age was when I started having boyfriends.
Okay.
And so I wasn't thinking about God at that
Okay.
time.
So when did you actually then decide, I want to pursue my relationship closer with the Lord after all of that?
After that, it would have been after I met my kid's father, my
Okay.
first husband, and we had got married. I was 18 when I got married. I
Were
was
you?
really young,
Oh my
right
God.
out of high school.
Okay.
And he was really established to be so young.
That's beautiful.
And he was not like any guy that I had ever met before.
Yeah.
And I loved the way that he treated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt like he was going to take care of me.
Yeah.
And he did.
So were you, because for me, and I'm always transparent and open about this for me, but not everybody, moves the way that I move. Were you also one who was searching for love in so many different places at an early age?
Yes.
Yeah. And did that kind of get you in some areas that was kind of like questionable because you didn't really know what it was yet?
Absolutely.
Okay. When did you really discover love? When did you know that you know what love is? Because God is ultimately love.
Yes.
When did you really discover that? What age were you?
It was when I had a head on collision car accident, and they had to use the jaws of life to get me out of that car. And I was 21 years old. I was on my way from work. And it was a 2-lane highway, and he came into my lane. And I saw him coming, and I said, he's coming into my, and then bam. At that time, when they got me out of the car and they took me to the hospital, Eden Hospital, I had broke both of my femurs, the
Oh
right
my
one in 3
God.
places. I broke my ankle, my heel was broken. My mouth was wired because my jaw was broken.
Oh my God.
Before Kanye West grew my mouth was
He was
through
the
the
original.
wire. I had
He
to
was
suck
the
my
OG
food
one.
through
Yes.
through a straw for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
And it was then I had all that time in the hospital because I went from being in ICU
Okay.
to the hospital to a convalescent home because I wasn't strong enough,
Yeah.
to a rehab
Yeah.
for 3 months. And then that whole process and learning how to, it took me about a year and a half to get my strength to be able to walk again.
Oh my God.
So I had a lot of time to think about why God spared my life
Yes.
and what my purpose
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And it was then when I realized how much God loved me.
Yes.
Because he spared my life.
Yeah.
And he told death to behave.
Come on now.
And he put the right people in my
Yes,
life because
ma'am.
he said, I want you to be that one to show my love to them,
Yes.
to demonstrate it.
Yes.
And I've given you the compassion to be able to do it and to
Yes.
meet everybody just right where they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it's going to take.
You know what's so crazy is just hearing you say that and hearing you say the compassion, because the compassion had to be shown to you first. Not only did he spare your life, but then he put the right nurses and people in the
Yes.
facilities to help nourish you back to life. He put you in the right hands to take care of you and feed you and like not get overwhelmed with you
Yes.
and having to take you to the bathroom and all of those things to show you what kindness was
I had
and
some
what
not
love
so,
was.
not to cut you off, but I did have those not so nice ones too.
Well, you always gonna have
But
those.
through it all,
Yeah.
yes.
You always gonna have those. But the main ones was the ones that was helping nourish you back
Yes.
to life.
Absolutely.
And it's like then he showed his compassion through other people. Isn't it so amazing that he allows us to be his hands and his feet and his eyes and his mouthpiece to then help other people? And so
Yes,
when you felt his love, did you cry? Were you overwhelmed with his love?
I still cry a lot. And yes,
Yes.
because I know that he didn't have to do it. Jesus didn't have to
Yes.
do what he did for me, but he did.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not worthy,
Mm-hmm.
but his love, his grace, his mercy,
Mm-hmm.
his loving kindness, he shows and demonstrates that to me every day.
Yes.
And because I experience it,
Mm-hmm.
and because I know where he brought me from and what he brought me through, I'm able to share that with others, that same love and that same mercy. When you practice forgiveness
Yes.
often, then it's your forgiveness muscle is stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know that I need that forgiveness. So that same forgiveness that God gives me, I desire to give that to others when I need to.